video, I'll be going over the most popular entry-level cybersecurity career, and that is the SOC analyst. I will be going over what exactly a SOC analyst is, different tiers of a SOC analyst, what skills you will need to become a SOC analyst, where you can work as a SOC analyst, what is the salary of an entry-level SOC analyst and an experienced SOC analyst, how you can get started step by step, and what are some good resources, credentials, and certificates. Stay to the end of the video and I'll be going over a day in the life of a SOC analyst. If you don't know who I am, I'm Nicole, and this channel is all about helping you get a job in cybersecurity and IT. I actually do work in cybersecurity and I have a LinkedIn below, so check me out there. Also comment, like, and subscribe. What exactly is a SOC analyst? And well, a SOC analyst is basically on the front lines, the first person in a security operation center or SOC that is responding to the cyber attacks. That's extremely vague. What a tier 1 security analyst will do is carry out triage, so what ticket goes where, and look at alerts and escalate any to tier 2 if the SOC analyst sees anything wrong, oversees and configures security monitoring tools such as Splunk or a security information event management tool. A tier 2 SOC analyst is actually going to be responding to the incident and addressing incidences and evaluating incidences identified by tier 1 analysts. They're going to carry out in-depth threat intelligence to find the perpetrator of the attack. They may create and implement a strategy for containment of this attack. Next is the third tier SOC analyst, and a third tier SOC analyst deals with critical incidences that the tier 1 and the tier 2 are not qualified to do. This is also the SOC analyst that will get paid the most. They may carry out vulnerability assessments and penetration tests. They may review the alerts, and then they may identify threats and security gaps and unknown vulnerabilities, and they'll have tons of various professionals working in the SOC. Most people will start at tier 1, which is the front lines, and that's usually what people are referring to when they talk about a SOC analyst, is just that person on the front lines doing in the trenches. A tier 1 SOC analyst is a little bit of a grind, and there is a lot of repetition, and it is just a lot of data coming at you. But that being said, it is a really good place to learn a lot about cybersecurity. People say there are no entry-level jobs in a cybersecurity, but a SOC analyst is probably one of the best places to start because it's so chaotic and it does get your door in the foot. Also, a lot of SOCs have 24/7 shifts, and if you're new to the field, you most likely will be working a night shift until you get a few more years of experience. More experienced professionals are more likely to take the day shift. If you're willing to work a night shift, it might be a really good strategy to land your first job and then try to get out of that night shift as quickly as possible because it is bad for your health. I've seen a SOC analyst go by so many different names. Some of those are cybersecurity analyst. That is probably the most common one, and I would say they're interchangeable. Cybersecurity analyst, SOC analyst, information security analyst, I've seen that, InfoSec analyst, IT security analyst, IT specialist with security at the end of it. So you always have to make sure to look at the job duties because these job titles are so vague and there are no universal job titles. Always make sure to look at the job duties. Some skills that you will need to become a SOC analyst is a good foundation of what IT is and a good foundation of what networking is, because you will probably be watching network traffic a lot. And a good place to start would be the Google IT support certificate. The link is below in the description. You're going to need general knowledge of PowerShell and Bash scripting. These aren't that hard of skills to pick up. You're going to need knowledge of multiple computing platforms and the cloud basics, so think Unix, Linux, Windows. Having a IT certificate can definitely help you get a SOC analyst position. So do you know what IP addressing is? Do you know what the TCP IP is? Do you know what the OSI model is? These types of things you will definitely need to know. Do you know what DNS is? And the difference between forwarders and resolvers? Important information. If you do not, I strongly suggest learning that right now. Also, knowing the basics of security information event management, Tools such as Splunk would be extremely helpful. You don't need to be a pro, you just need to know the basics and do a couple of projects on this. There are tons of different tools you can learn, but just learn the concepts and the base foundations of it. Analyzing a PCAP is extremely important to know. I do have a project below that walks you through how to analyze this. It is by Coursera, but I strongly suggest knowing that. Also, being able to triage events fast is important, but that won't really come until you have worked a few months, and then you'll start to pattern recognize things that just repeat over and over, and it will get repetitive. Being able to analyze emails and malicious content is also something you will need to know. Some really good sites to go to is VirusTotal, URL Scan, AnyRun, and analyze an off-network PC or VM, and then really just get some hands-on experience there. Also, being able to document things and then creating standard operating procedures such as a user guide so someone else can follow step by step of something that you previously had done. So where can you work as a SOC analyst? The possibilities are endless. I mean, SOC analyst is probably the fastest growing job, and you can work in healthcare, you can work in the DoD, you can work in insurance, you can work in finance, baking, you can work in manufacturing, you can work anywhere. Do I need a clearance to work in cybersecurity? The only industry you're going to need a security clearance is the Department of Defense. A lot of places in Washington, D.C., you will need a security clearance, but there are tons of cybersecurity jobs where you don't need a security clearance. Also, I would look at really large companies such as Dell, as they have a huge security operation center through SecureWorks, and they have a really high turnover for SOC analysts. That tier 1 in the trenches job does have a high turnover rate. Also, look at JP Morgan. Although their program is a little bit more competitive to get into, companies are actually getting a security team where they didn't have one before, and it's happening right now. I know all of you are curious, how much can I make as a SOC analyst? And this varies so widely depending on your location, depending on how well your negotiating skills are. According to talent.com, the entry-level SOC analyst salary is about $63,000, and then a more experienced SOC analyst can make a high end of $120,000. But I have seen entry-level jobs at $90,000 depending on where you are located. And also remember, there's a range for every single job that you have. So they'll always start you at the bottom. So if you don't negotiate, then you are losing money. The company is keeping money. And honestly, $10,000 to them probably isn't that much money, but for you, it might be a lot of money. The best negotiating skill I've ever heard is, instead of saying my salary requirement is this, say the market places a SOC analyst salary at about $115,000 based on my skill, based on my experience, based on my certificates, degree level, and that is how much I want. You may or may not get it, but at least you are trying, and it's really hard to say, no, that isn't the correct pricing if you did your research. So always make sure to do your research and then just go into that interview knowing your number. If we look at some of these jobs, I found a junior SOC analyst in Colorado Springs for 80 to 90K. So it does exist. So how do you become a SOC analyst step by step, right? I'm sure that's what you're wondering. The first step is you are going to need a good basis of IT, networking, operating systems. Step 2 is to learn the cybersecurity basics. The best place to start with this is probably the Security Plus, and that's also a very good certificate to get. And then after you've learned that, then you are going to want to pick up SOC analyst skills, and you can do this in a variety of places. You can get a degree, but a degree is not needed to become a SOC analyst. However, it can't hurt, and I have seen degrees take off years of experience. But you don't need a degree, right? I'm not telling you to get a degree. If you want to get one, but I'm not saying it's required. But I would say SOC analyst certifications are really useful. Some SOC analyst certifications, the CYSA Plus by CompTIA. This prepares you to become a cybersecurity analyst, and it does go through a lot of good foundational knowledge. From there, you can build projects based on what you're learning and then document it. Really important. Also, a really good resource I've found, it's Black Hills Information Security Training. It's about a 5-day webinar, Pay What You Can, Security Operation Center Framework, and he has tons of other training that you have to pay for, but this beginning class is just pay what you can. I think it's like $25 to like $600. It's a really good networking tool, so you'll meet a lot of people, and people have gotten jobs from that programming. It's not going to break the bank. You don't have to pay $15,000 for a cybersecurity boot camp. Instead, go do that certificate and then ask people what they think about a cybersecurity boot camp. Then you're going to want to make sure to do your resume correctly and interview for jobs correctly. And getting the right information about this is really important. So I would go through professionals who have demonstrated their ability. Once you are qualified, you're curious, what is a day in the life of a SOC analyst? I'm sure you're wondering. And the answer is it could be very chaotic, but it could also be extremely boring and repetitive. And most days probably will be boring and repetitive. But as a SOC analyst, tier 1, you'll probably just be reviewing and triaging tickets, which can get repetitive. You could be monitoring network traffic and analyzing it. You could perform tier 1 triage incident response. You could create reports saying this is what you did all day. You could develop and maintain procedures of things that you're doing. You will be following the Security Operations Center procedures on a day-to-day basis. You may be sorting through false positives and false negatives. So remember, the SOC analyst tier 1 is a lot like the help desk is for IT operations. You're kind of just in the trenches dealing with all of the stuff that sucks. A lot of times there will be set procedures that you're going to follow step by step. You are entry level and you are tier 1. It's not going to be the most glamorous. You might clean up an infection, find the entry method, put in blocks where possible, and then close the case. And then that's basically what you're going to be doing. A lot of people actually do quit the SOC analyst job. But if you are totally new, this should give you hope, because I 100% believe that you can get a job as a SOC analyst and it's not that difficult. Just remember, not the most glamorous job like becoming a pen tester and documenting half of your comment, like, and subscribe. And I have tons of other career videos about cybersecurity and IT. And I will see you then. Goodbye.